Welcome to Garden Views, interesting conversations with interesting people who have done and or are doing interesting things. So sit back and enjoy.
Welcome everyone into Garden Views, and this week we're getting back into the world of show business and Hollywood with Jett Jansen, which is a fantastic name. He's also Emmy nominated Jett Jansen. He has done pretty much everything. He's a writer, he's been a producer, he's been an actor, he's currently all of these things. He's a stuntman, stunt coordinator, all around action guy. And he was nominated for Best Stunt Performance in the Righteous Gemstones. He's playing a role in an upcoming movie, so we're going to talk about all that stuff. But he's done pretty much everything there is on the creative side of things. He's done it. So, Jett, thank you so much for coming into Garden Views.
No worries, brother. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, no, it's great. I really appreciate it. You've been terrific and really open with everything. So, I mean, we can start with your origin story things, but we have to start with the Emmy. So, I mean, like, what's the process in, like, does your producer send things for consideration? How are you notified that you're Emmy nominated? What's that all like?
Well, when we finished season 3 of Righteous Gemstones, we knew we had something special because we did a lot of stunts with monster trucks, and that's never been done before. Our lovely stunt coordinator for that show, Corey DeMeyers, who I think is a creative genius, really put all that together. We did a lot of crazy car crashes, fight scenes, and this is a comedy show. So to do comedy and high-level action is kind of unheard of. Then you add that element of the monster truck. So by the time we finished it, we knew we had something special. So really, the coordinator, Corey, requested to submit for consideration for the Emmys. HBO agreed. We put together the production company and HBO, and Corey helped put together a little sizzle package to submit. Every show submits. So it's a long shot.
Right. But
we submitted and actually ended up getting 2 nominations. Corey got Best Stunt Coordinator, and then 4 of us that were in the end sequence with the monster truck got Outstanding Stunt Performance. So really, if you think you have something cool, you submit, hope for the best, and if you're lucky and have something interesting, you get get a nomination, which I was already happy with getting a nomination. I didn't need to win, so getting nominated is a true honor. And the show that ended up winning was Shogun. Now, I don't know if you saw this year's Emmys. Shogun won 18 wins. A history-setting record. No show in the history of the Emmys has won 18 wins. So, like, losing to that is like getting knocked out by Tyson. Like, who cares? I don't mind losing to Shogun because everybody lost to Shogun. We were all at the after party just having a drink, commiserating. Oh, sound guy, you lost to Shogun? Me too. Come on, let's have a drink.
Sake bombs?
Oh, yeah. And they beat everybody, so like it felt good. And it was an honor to go to the ceremony and an honor to be nominated.
Yeah, Shogun was a fantastic show. Didn't exactly hit the ending at the end, but still. But yeah, from cinematography and storytelling. But yeah, we're not here to talk about Shogun though. So, do you go to the Emmy show itself? Is there a red carpet for the stunt people? Do you get like a swag bag?
Well, stunts is considered principal cast contractually, so yeah, we went to the main show, went to the red carpet, went to the after party. No real swag bag for the Emmys, but amazing after party. Drinks and music and great food.
Who were you wearing?
Itself was awesome. Huh?
Who were you wearing?
Well, it was actually there's this Italian little designer that I met in Florida. He's kind of losing his sight, but he made this lovely baby blue plaid suit that was the talk of the town. Actually, it was a big hit. The suit was a bigger hit than the nomination for me.
Well. All right. Well, good for the designer. That's what they always ask. Who are you wearing? They were wearing Armani, Yves Saint Laurent, whatever. All right. So very good. So you had your own personal, glam squad. That's terrific.
Yeah, it was a nice guy.
All right. So let's go back to the beginning. I mean, first of all, your parents somehow knew that you were going to do something awesome, cool when they named you Jett Jansen. I mean, so we'll skip ahead. Probably a couple decades. How where do you come from, and how do you go from wherever you came from into getting into show business?
That's an interesting story, actually. My parents are Cuban, and my dad's mom worked at a little movie theater in Cuba. And when my dad was a young kid, she would sneak him into the movies to watch all the movies. So my dad grew up watching all these American movies in Cuba his whole life. They escaped communism, came to America. I was the firstborn of my family in America, born in Miami, Florida. And that's how my dad raised me. All he knew about America were Humphrey Bogart movies and, all these old movies, the old Maltese Falcon, The Treasure Sierra Madre, Key Largo, these old Edward G. Robinson films and Peter Lorre. So he sat me in front of the television and showed me all these movies, and that's how I learned English. So I never not wanted to do anything else. I always wanted to be in entertainment in some form. And I've diverted here and there, but always in the entertainment field, with the goal to always work in the movies eventually. I never wanted to do anything else. As soon as I turned 7, I went into the theater program. I did theater from elementary school, middle school, high school, college, competed professionally in performing arts theater. After school, worked at Miami Shores Performing Arts Theater professionally. Trained in classic Shakespearean theater, musical theater, while at the same time doing martial arts my whole life and being very physical. So I found ways to mix those, which is why I'm in the stunt world and the fight world and the action world. But I've always been in the arts because of my father raising me on cinema. I've never done anything else or wanted to do anything else.
So you're a complete Renaissance man. It's like you're doing the theater, you're doing the dance, and they come over and they make fun of you, hey, theater boy, and then you like kung fu and jujitsu them, and it's like, uh-oh.
The picking on thing was interesting because I didn't get a lot of people picking on me because I would just whoop their ass. So they were fine with me being in musical theater.
All right, there you go. Excellent. Yeah, that is terrific. So it's a guy who really does it all. So you always did it all. So how did you? So you transfer. There's regional theater. How did you transition that into actually, West Coast? I mean, I know that you're in Florida now, and that's where you live, but a lot of where the work is out there in Hollywood.
Yeah. So it's a great question. A buddy of mine got hired. I was doing soap operas and stuff, working in Florida, doing stunts. A buddy of mine got hired that I knew from Miami to be the main stunt double for season 1 of MTV's Teen Wolf in Georgia. They shot that in Georgia. And I wanted to get on that show. I've never been on a big show outside of being like I was an extra in Miami Vice for Michael Mann or whatever. And, but I never did stunts for a big major show. And he got cast to be the main stunt double for Teen Wolf. So I said, fuck it. And I got out there to Georgia and just slept in his hotel room floor and tried to get on Teen Wolf. It took months. So they shot 6 months in Georgia, the first season of Teen Wolf. I was there for about 4 months doing nothing, just hanging around on set until they said, all right, kid, get in there, and I got a stunt job. So once I got that stunt job, they gave me like 2 or 3 days. I used that money, bought a train ticket, and took a train to Los Angeles with a suitcase and about $200 left over, not knowing anybody. And that's how I got to LA. This house of free runners, parkour. The greatest American parkour team called Tempest Free Running. They're also stunt guys because there's no money in free running. They kind of took me in and let me sleep on their floor. They had a big house called Shag Palace, had shaggy carpets, and that's what they called it. And they said, all right, look, you can do our dishes and our laundry. You can sleep on the floor. And they're like, okay. So I slept out on the floor of the Team Tempest Free Running headquarters, their little rental house. And until I slowly worked my way up the ladder. But that's how I got to LA.
What's a free runner?
Huh?
What's a free runner?
It's a parkour guy, like jumping from rooftop to rooftop, flipping off of walls. It started out as a European sport. You remember the beginning of Casino Royale?
Sure.
Chasing the guy. That guy's name is Sebastian Fuqua. He's a French free runner. It's a famous French sport where you jump around from building to building. Okay,
so it's like playing ninja but professionally.
Yeah. They have their own sport. They have the Red Bull Art of Motion is their big Super Bowl competition. It's on the rooftops of Santorini, Greece, once a year. Very beautiful. They're great guys, and they're also working stuntmen. So they just let me crash at their house until I was able to, work my way out of there.
All right. So you broke in basically through the stunt world.
Yeah. I got that gig on Teen Wolf, got to LA, and shout out to Team Tempest for taking in a crazy Cuban kid that couldn't do any flips.
So what was your first big job on the West Coast?
On the West Coast, I did so many small things and slowly working it up. There's a parkour movie called Run that I did. A lot of new media YouTube shit. I tell you, the first bigger union job that I did wasn't even a stunt job. Google was trying to promote their new virtual reality camera. It's a VR 180 technology, and they said if anybody needs submissions for things to shoot, like story things, like a film or a series that we could do in VR, let us know. We're accepting submissions. Winner gets $50,000 to produce the project, and we give them a studio space and locations and stuff. So I pitched them this horror series, and they liked it, and they bought it, and we won, and we shot it. It's on YouTube. If anyone has a good Oculus VR helmet, it's called Tamino's Hell. It's on YouTube. Very scary. All female cast. And that was the biggest thing that I did up front, because it was something that I wrote, I produced, I directed, and Google liked it and funded it. And that's we did that, shot 4 episodes, and that's how I was able to join the Writers Guild. Because I earned enough points through all the other things I was writing to join the WGA. But the first big thing in LA wasn't even a stunt job. It was that producing that horror series for Google's VR department.
Are you able to be in more than one union?
Yes, I'm in the Producers Union. I'm in the Academy of Arts and Sciences. I'm in the Screen Actors Guild as well, and the WGA. So WGA, PGA, the Academy of Arts and Sciences, and the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA. Yeah. Which union or guild do stunt people join? Because we're considered principal cast, it's SAG-AFTRA. It's like the Actors Union.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, they represent us. Yeah.
All right, that's really cool. And how many gigs or roles do you need to qualify for membership, or can you just apply and then try to get the roles?
Every union is a little different. For SAG, you need at least three gigs, union gigs, to be considered. I think that you're a must join after like 3 gigs, where you can't work another union job unless you pay them a fee. With the WGA, you have to earn a certain amount of points depending on what category of WGA you join, as an associate or as a higher up member or whatever. For the PGA, there's different requirements. Like, they want to see your name produced with your name on several projects that were produced and distributed. So it can't just be something on YouTube. It has to be something that was on either Amazon or went somewhere, and that has your name as. That was the hardest. The Producers Guild was one of the hardest ones to join. At one point, I got frustrated with them because they check. They email. If you say I produced this, they'll find the cast and they'll email the cast and ask them if I actually did anything. You got to jump through a lot of hoops. And at one point, I told them all the things. It was a movie I did called Tamino's, not Tamino's. It was a movie I did called Street Shadows, which did pretty well. It's on Amazon and Tubi, and I produced it, wrote it, directed, and starred in it. And they kept asking me a bunch of questions, and I was getting annoyed. And finally, at the end, they said, why do you think you deserve to be in the PGA over other producers? And I'm like, on this movie, Street Shadows, that I produced, I jumped from one moving car to another moving car while driving down the road in Los Angeles in one take with no cuts. If you could find a producer that's willing to do that, then give them the membership. And I just fucking emailed it because I was done with it. They emailed me back, congratulations, you're in the Producers Guild. I'm like, oh, good.
Nice.
Thanks.
Hey, listen, sometimes being yourself works out. I have a friend who's a producer. Way back when, episode 35 of Garden of Doom, he came on as a favor. So if you want to check that out, it's there. His name's Mark Hammer. Anyway, we were talking about, he's a producer, so he's in the Producers Union, but he's also in the Directors Guild also, I believe. And
that's the hardest one to get into.
Yeah, and he said that he's never letting that go because their benefits are terrific. Like, he's got great health benefits. He says, like, the best health benefits ever, and he gets great residual checks from them. So there really seems to be a difference in the industry, like other industries, between union and guild and guild. Is that accurate?
Say that again?
There's differences in like the benefits and other kinds of benefits that between the different industry specific guilds and unions.
Yeah. Like SAG has a really good healthcare. WGA and PGA not so much. The DGA, the Directors Guild, is the daddy though. That's the hardest one to join. You have to get a certain amount of days of directing days on a union show, which are next to impossible to get. A lot of guys sneak in by like directing second unit on stuff, like stunt guys. Usually we'll like try to get direct second unit to get DGA days. But yeah, different unions have different perks and benefits. SAG has a great healthcare program. The DGA has probably the best benefits of all of them. Yeah.
Interesting. That's really interesting how even in the industry works. And then, I guess the older folks tell the young folks, listen, this is how you do it. You get directing credits by doing second unit or third unit or the night shift unit or whatever it is to help get you towards those points and those goals. Everything is more complicated than we think it is. I mean, that's one thing I'm learning is that there's levels and layers, and the avocado turns into an onion and the onion turns into something we haven't given a name yet too. But somehow things mostly sort of work. All right. So I definitely want, I had a question. I lost it. It'll come back to me. So you got your union things together. You had these guys who sort of sponsored you and waited for you to get on your feet. You did this awesome production thing. You got yourself in the Producers Guild because you're basically like the Tom Cruise of producers, doing your own stunts and all of that. So we had spoken once before, and you indicated that you either put a television network together or work towards that. Like, how does that idea even go from being an idea in your head to something that you put together and concrete make happen?
Well, yes, I believe you're talking about our deal with Pluto TV for professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been a fan of professional wrestling. I've always had my finger in that pie, produced a bunch of pro wrestling, written a bunch of pro wrestling, trained a few pro wrestlers. Guys like Luchasaurus and Karrion Kross and John Hennigan have said I'm like the best kept secret in professional wrestling. I've written promos helped write promos for each of them. I've helped come up with moves for each of them. I've been hired to choreograph and shoot some of those cinematic matches for AEW. I've helped choreograph and produce little spots like The Miz and John Morrison's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood spoof. Me and another stuntman, Alvin Stang, choreographed that fight. Trained all of Luchasaurus' martial arts and tweaked some of his footwork that needed to be adjusted for the current style. So I've always been in that world. And I wanted to do something nice for all the independent companies in America because they're not making a lot of money. So I had some connections at Pluto TV and realized that they didn't have an independent pro wrestling channel. They had a Lucha Libre channel. They had Impact Wrestling channel. And I thought it'd be cool if there was an indie wrestling channel. So Pluto was kind of interested in it. What I did was I proceeded to call every top indie promotion in America, one by one. Took 2 years almost, and on the phone, cold called them and made handshake deals. Said, hey, if I get a TV deal, can we work out something to get your entire video library and distribute it on Pluto? We came up with a rate that was fair for everybody, drew up the contracts, signed the contracts, and went one by one, promotion after promotion after promotion, until I had about 500 hours of television.
Wow.
Went to Pluto TV, made the deal with them, and then started the onboarding process, which was a nightmare, got everything programmed. And then for about 2 years, we had an independent pro wrestling channel that everybody loved. It did amazing numbers. Quite frankly, we could have made it even bigger because we had just closed a deal with Noah Pro Wrestling to get them on Pluto TV. But then Pluto, they didn't want to renew our contract. They wanted to make a deal with WOW. So they made a deal with WOW Wrestling and didn't renew us to keep going, unfortunately. I feel as though short-sighted because now Noah obviously has a deal with WWE. Would have been a great business boom for them. But in the pro wrestling world, if you don't know, you don't know. It's such a niche market. But for 2.5 years, a lot of indie promotions got big checks in the mail that they never would have gotten had they not been on Pluto TV, and I feel very blessed that I was able to give some money back to that lovely art form. Do you get to call yourself a television executive now? Pretty much.
All right.
I don't like to brag about it, but if you're distributing that much hours of television for Pluto, then yeah.
All right. Right on. Let's do it. Bet. All right. So for those of you who are not in the pro wrestling world, and I know that a lot of my listeners came with me from pro wrestling, but a lot of people came from all other different places as well. So he named 3 names. So Karrion Kross, Killer Kross, Pretty big name now. He's in the WWE right now. So that's, everyone's heard of WWE or at least WWF, which it hasn't been called since, I don't know, like 25 years. So he's there. Luchasaurus, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a silly name. It was sort of given to him when he was on a show called Lucha Underground because the crowd gave him that name. That wasn't the wrestling name they gave him. But he's a 6'5" man who does martial arts and does leaps and flips that a 6'5", 6'6" man should be able to. He's also muscle bound. So it's not even like he's lanky and does those kinds of moves. By the way, how's he doing? Like right now, as we record this, I mean, it's public knowledge. It's October 13, 2024. How's he doing with his double pneumonia? Is he okay? I mean, he's
doing as best he can. He has pneumonia in both his lungs. They got him at home with an oxygen machine. His levels are stabilizing. It's I think he's gonna pull through. In terms of is he gonna be able to wrestle again? I don't know. It's gonna take a while. It was down to like, I don't know, 70-80% lung capacity.
Wow.
But he's got a big giant breathing machine attached to him, and the levels are dropping. So little by little, we'll see. But he is getting better. He's out of the woods. But in terms of being able to get in a ring again, that's going to take a bit longer than a couple months before we could tell.
All right. So, and a little bit more on Luchasaurus. First of all, he's got like a master's or a PhD or both in like medieval studies, medieval literature, which is, pretty unusual period, let alone, you wouldn't exactly associate that with a gigantic pro wrestler.
Yeah. Not to let the cat out of the bag too early here, but there may or may not be a comic book in the works. So we'll see.
Oh, good. Well, I hope there is, because, anything that happens when he can't actually actively work. And he's pretty credentialed. He's been a AEW Tag Team Champion, AEW TNT Champion. So it's not, he's made it to the highest levels. And John.
They call him online. People start calling him Bright Light Source, because whenever you need him to have some big marquee match, Luchasaurus versus Swerve, Luchasaurus versus the Young Bucks, Luchasaurus versus Moxley. Anytime you bring him out, he has a great match with these top level main event guys, and then then he goes back to doing what he's doing. But whenever you need him, he's there when you need him for the bright lights, and he always delivers.
There you go.
You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that's, I think Kenny Omega, Phoenix, and him are the only guys that have held the 3 titles that he's held in the history of AEW, and he delivers every time you put him in a big marquee match. I think he's primed to be like the Undertaker of AEW, and I would love it for the top brass at AEW to put him in those spots more, because every time he does, he obviously delivers. That's why online they call him Bright Lights Source. Nice.
And for those who don't know who John Hennigan is, he was back when MTV was doing Tough Enough. He was one of the first winners of Tough Enough. He's gone by every name. He's John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Johnny TV, Johnny Impact. So he's been all over and held pretty much every title he can. So just wanted to point out that these are the people that he trained are it's not like you just see him at the local, Veterans of Foreign Wars Lodge. They've made it to the highest levels of the industry. All right, back to you. So what movies did you work on that you're particularly proud of, or that you had feel like that you really put your thumbprints on it?
I feel as though really it's Stranger Things, season 4 of Stranger Things, because that's everyone's favorite season. That episode, Dear Billy, episode 4, I believe, that has that 80s song, Running Up That Hill, that everybody loves, that went viral.
Kate Bush.
I feel as though that was a special episode for me. That episode was directed by Sean Levy. So Sean Levy doesn't direct every episode of Stranger Things. He only directs a few, because he's obviously making movies. He just directed Wolverine and Deadpool.
Oh.
He's signed on to direct the next Star Wars. He did the Atom Project. He's a big time, but he's a main producer on Stranger Things, and he pops in for a couple episodes. So when I got called in to help put together the sequence for Stranger Things, I was very surprised and excited that Sean Levy was directing that episode. I had auditioned for an acting part, didn't get it, but he liked me so much, he did give me a speaking role in a stunt spot. And we did the big shootout that happens in the house.
Okay.
So it's a big oneer, no cuts, 6 guys, real blanks, real actors there, fully automatic, shot the hell out of this whole house. I wish. It was, and no cuts. And being directed in an acting capacity by Sean Levy was really, really cool. So I would say Stranger Things, that specific episode. And with that episode was interesting because that episode had a different stunt coordinator than the rest of the series, and a different stunt team than the rest of the series. And because of the strength of that episode, that show won a SAG award. But to win a SAG award, you have to be in more than one episode. And we only did, my team and Kevin Scott, the stunt coordinator, only did that episode. So it got a SAG award for the other guys, the other coordinator, the other stunt guys. But really, the episode everybody talks about and the episode that everybody loves was the one that they didn't do, but we couldn't get any recognition for that because we were only in that one episode. So it's okay. Those guys are cool, and that coordinator's cool and all that jazz. But really, it was that episode that, like, you know, that got everybody excited. Now it had its own separate stunt coordinator and separate stunt team. I would say that one I'm really proud of. And season 3 of Righteous Gemstones, I'm very proud of as well. They got us the Emmy nomination, 2 Emmy nominations. Sure. Shout out to Corey DeMeyers again. So I would say those 2 are my favorite things that I've done so far.
So there's no truth that you were one of the TVA people that Deadpool killed in the "Oops, I Did It Again" or in Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay, not that you know of. All right. Are there a lot of roles that there's not that you know of? I mean, are you on a serious side? Is there like a lot of times that you're like henchman or goon number 3 or number 4, and just like, you know, we never see your face, so, you know, you're behind a mask or a helmet or something like that?
Oh, a bunch of times. As a matter of fact, which I prefer, because in stunts they call it burning your face. When you see my face and I die on camera, I can't come back and work again.
Right.
So for season 3 of Gemstones, I did that entire season. I had to be in several different masks because I was in the whole thing. So I kept popping in under different masks, would kidnap somebody or do something, get killed or whatever, come back with a different mask, and whatever they can do to hide my face so I could come back. So that happens often. So
if you're an actor or a stunt person, it's much better to be a stormtrooper than one of the rebels in that.
Yes, I want to come back. Yeah.
Absolutely. God, or a Mandalorian or whatever. Someone with a no face that you don't see a helmet. Yeah, that makes sense. Or a Trojan, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's cool. These are little things that you don't think about, or I didn't think about anyway. Maybe other people have. All right. So the TV thing, you got the production thing, you've got the directing thing. And, you know, how do you go from being stuntman to sort of stunt coordinator?
You know, it's very, very difficult. And I've mostly been able to sneak in through choreography because I do a lot of fight choreography. Mm-hmm. So you could be a fight. The path, usually, if you're a good fight guy, stuntman, fight choreographer, or fight coordinator, then from fight coordinator, you could jump up to stunt coordinator. Now, in the stunt coordinating world, I'm greener than duck shit. You know, I've mostly done fight coordinating and fight choreography. And quite frankly, that's a difficult job with a lot of paperwork that I don't necessarily want to do. But that's usually the path of going from stuntman to fight choreographer, fight coordinator, stunt coordinator. And there's other paths too. If you're a car guy, you don't do fights, you can still sneak in and work your way up that ladder. There's guys that do a lot of previs and shoot and edit fights, and they can work their way up that ladder that way. So there's multiple paths. But usually, if you're a stunt person, you specialize in one particular field, whether it's rigging, wire work, fights, cars, fire, and from there you can circumnavigate into assistant coordinating and coordinating.
How worried are people in your industry, and especially the physical industry, worried about CGI and AI and things like that?
As worried as everybody is. Actors are worried about getting replaced. Writers are worried about getting replaced. They've been using CG replacements for stunt guys for a very long time. Luckily for us, you still need stunt guys to put that together because the computer guys, as good as they are, they don't know how a body should move in the air. And the more that CGI and AI starts taking over, the more you hear people complaining about bad CGI.
Right. Because
it's just not good. Even if it looks amazing, how it moves and the physics of it is a different thing. You get AI to 100% copy something, the human eye will always know. That's the reason why Jurassic Park was made in the 90s and people still say it has awesome CGI, and a Marvel movie that came out yesterday, people say it has terrible CGI. Technology doesn't do it. It's still an artistry. It's still a human brain has to design it. But everyone is worried about losing their jobs and stuff. But look, you're not going to stop technology. You either learn how to use it or let it run you over. You know, when the laptops came in and took out the typewriter, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You learn how to use the laptop. You know, when the Foot Locker moved in next to the shoe cobbler, you learn how to make Nikes or sell Nikes, or you're done. So it's a sink or swim situation, and it's ugly, but I think there'll always be a place for the human hand. Take, for example, these Pixar movies are great, but every time that Hayao Miyazaki does a hand-drawn movie, it always wins an Oscar and beats the Pixar films. He just did it with The Boy and the Heron this last year.
Yeah.
There's still something about the human hand touching something that the brain can't, you know, quantify or can't put its finger on, but it will always be better.
I don't know if this is a misnomer or not, but does independent films, or are independent films immune or exempt from having to play under union rules? Is that what an independent film means, basically?
No, you can have you could do short films that have, like, I just did a short film in Los Angeles, produced by Karrion Kross, that he performs in, actually, and we were a SAG micro budget. So there's different categories. There's SAG micro budget, SAG low budget, indie SAG. You know, depending on your budget level, you could still be in a union.
Oh, so the rates are different?
Yeah. The budget determines what level of union show you are, and that helps you get protection for your actors. Helps you get better quality actors, because actors that are in the union, aren't allowed to do non-union stuff. So it's beneficial in other aspects, and to qualify for different film festivals. You could do a movie completely independently without being in a union, which I've done in the past, or you could do a small picture and have it be in the union. So it really is taster's choice.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I was mistaken to an extent, which is fine. That's why I do interviews with people who know the difference. So that's really cool.
Yeah, you can do a 5-minute short film for no money, and you can make it a SAG project.
So Karrion Kross created a movie, so he's like the producer and director and an actor?
Well, I wrote the script that I really liked, and I thought Kross would be perfect for the part. And then Kross expressed interest in helping produce it. So we said sure, and he was an amazing executive producer. We had a team. Hale from 19 Pictures came in and produced it. Corey came in and produced it. Karrion Kross came in and was an executive producer. We shot it in LA over a 2-week period. It's a very interesting short film. Got a great cast, and so I casted Kross as a character in it. So he's an actor in it, and he's a executive producer of the piece as well, and came out really good. We're in post-production right now with it. We're hoping it could hit the festival circuit end of this year.
Oh, that's very cool. I don't pretend to know the man, but from his character and his persona, that since I was first introduced to him through Lucha Underground as well. I would imagine it's something action, maybe a little spooky, maybe a little culty, or.
Here's what's interesting about it is that's the reason why I wanted to pitch Kross. I've been in a couple of short films with Kross in the past in an acting capacity, and I always felt like he was a very strong actor, stronger than your average wrestler. That's why they have him cut all the promos. He's a very, very good actor. And I said, hey, Kross, you want to make a name for yourself in the acting world? Every pro wrestler and their grandmother is going to try to go do something and do an action thing. I think it'd be interesting if you did a drama and played a real character, just to go against type and see if you could do it and show the world that you are a strong actor. You're not just a big dumb brute. And I had this script that's a drama, and he absolutely resonated with the character. So it's actually a dramatic film that he produced and he's acting in. It's a lovely story about it's about a lot of things. It's a weird art piece, but it's about a homeless man who's a drug addict, and he always hangs out at a library or in a thrift store. He's always looking at art books. He's obsessed with paintings. And I don't want to give too much away, but he knows a lot about paintings. And one day he notices a certain painting in the thrift store that he knows is worth millions. The thrift store owner, who's an asshole, doesn't. Right. And he's selling it for $2,000. But to a crack addict, homeless guy, $2,000 might as well be $1 million, Yeah. So the story's about him getting clean and getting off the stuff to be able to get a job and make enough money to buy this painting, which could save his life. And Kross plays somebody in the AA meeting space, tough love situation that tries to help this guy get off the drugs to get his life together and earn a couple of bucks and get a job. So it's a lovely dramatic piece, and Kross hit a home run. Editing his scenes were a breath of fresh air.
Great. Well, that's very exciting. And, I hope everyone checks it out when it comes out, and you'll let me know when it does come out so we can mention it and then cross-promote it and do whatever. No pun intended there. Were there a lot of action scenes in it that, or physical thing? None?
Yeah, and our short film is 100% drama. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful little dramatic story as a challenge. We're all action guys. We're all award-winning stunt guys, martial artists, pro wrestlers, badass dudes. And people know we could do that. But we're storytellers first and foremost. So to be able to do a nice, heartfelt, dramatic piece is something that to prove a point. A lot of times, stunt guy can't do a drama movie. Stunt guy can't direct actors. Fuck you, man. I started doing theater when I was 7. Right. I know more than the people that think that they know more. Like, the people that think that they can talk to an actor and they think that they know dramatic scenes, I've got 40 years experience on their heads. It just happens that I'm a stunt guy and they don't really believe that I could do what I could do. So it's interesting to come in and do a drama and shove it in everybody's face. And hopefully tell a beautiful story that inspires somebody and it can help somebody get off drugs or clean their life up a bit. So
I know that this was a period piece and the period was in the 70s, but how close or far from reality is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
It's 100% pretty darn close. Corey DeMeyers, who I mentioned a few times, won a Taurus Award for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was a Taurus Award, for those who don't know, is like the Oscars for stunts.
Okay.
And he won a Taurus Award. He tells this great story of doing a scene with DiCaprio and Tarantino because he gets shot off a roof during one of the cowboy scenes, doing a gag that was an homage to an old Western gag from Once Upon a Time in the West. They redid the stunt, which actually broke the stunt guy's neck when he did it in the 60s. It's incredibly accurate. Yeah, Gene LaBelle would get into fights with people on set. Bruce Lee would get into fights with people on set. Gene and Bruce were both friends. Bruce was a bit cocky. I know people have this idea of Bruce being this kind of philosopher, and I love Bruce Lee, but I love the human. And he was a bit of a cocky guy. It was the 60s, and he could beat everybody's ass. I don't see anything wrong with showcasing his humanity. I know people got upset with his portrayal, but it was incredibly accurate. That's how stunts were. I know a lot of stunt guys that are that age that retired recently when I worked on them on different projects, and it's like that. It was very accurate.
So the stuntman did beat up Bruce Lee.
I don't know if they did. A stuntman didn't beat up Bruce Lee.
He embarrassed him.
In the fight, it was an even match. No one won. They were going to go again.
Right.
It was best out of 3 falls, and they got paused, which Tarantino mentioned. Bruce did get into a bunch of fights, and to the best of my knowledge, he won those fights, especially with the stunt guys in Hong Kong. He beat their asses. With Gene LaBelle, Bruce knew not to fight Gene. What happened was Gene beat the shit out of Steven Seagal and made him shit his pants on set. Gene choked him out, Steven shit his pants, and LaBelle was a serious guy. And nobody fucked with Gene. Bruce knew that and became friends with Gene LaBelle and trained with him and learned all the grappling and choking and stuff and the catch-as-catch wrestling from Gene. So there was never any animosity between Bruce and Gene. They liked each other. But Bruce did get into fights and fuck people up on set, yeah.
Steve Seagal, the Under Siege guy and the Marked for Death. Now, wasn't Bruce Lee dead before Steven Seagal?
Yeah. This was years later. After Bruce's death, Gene was still working.
Okay.
But the story of Gene beating up actors or beating up other stunt guys is what made it through the lore. But Bruce never got beat up by a stunt guy on set. No.
Well, Steven Seagal, I think right now holds the position in Russia as being their artistic envoy or something. And so he's buddy with Putin, I guess, sort of doing the Dennis Rodman, Kim Jong Il thing. So that's always good fun. So back to your story. All right. Who are some of, I don't know if you want to name names, but who are some of the fun action directors to work with?
I'd say Sean Levy was absolutely fantastic to work with. He really knows his shit. A lot of episodes of The Righteous Gemstones was directed by Danny McBride, and we just finished working on season 4. And I don't want to give too much away from that, but there's a lot of period scenes that are battle scenes. And Danny McBride, people think of him as this comic. He's a badass director and amazing to work for. I would say Dan McBride is an amazing director. Russell Mulcahy, who I think I'm butchering his last name. Mulcahy is a weird H in there, but he directed the first Highlander film, and he directed the first season of Teen Wolf. He was absolutely amazing to work for. So I think Russell, Sean Levy, and Danny McBride, in terms of directors that I've worked with closely, are badass. And as an extra, watching Michael Mann work on the set of Miami Vice was absolutely incredible. But I would like to mention one director that's very special to my heart that actually isn't a film director. He's a theater director. His name is Max Farah. People that know him. He's in textbooks. He's a famous New York Spanish director of the stage. And for the University of Miami, I did a play with him written by Luis Santiago, who's got 7 Emmys for screenplay writing. He wrote Sesame Street and this Spanglish Spanish show called Que Pasa USA. And we did a play together. And in terms of actor, director, and storytelling, Max Farah, who RIP is not with us anymore, he passed away a few years back, was the greatest director in terms of actor-director relationship I've ever worked with. And anytime I work with an actor and anytime I do blocking, I'm directly channeling the work of Max Farah. So I wanted to say a shout out to him as well. We didn't do movies, but in terms of stage play theater, which is harder, Max Farah was the fucking man.
Absolutely. Damn, well, here's to him. What roles would be out there where people in the audience, we could see your face?
I would say if you go on Amazon Prime and rent the film Street Shadows. It was an experimental low-budget film I did where I wrote, directed it, and starred in it. And I read Robert Rodriguez's book, Rebel Without a Crew. And he said, I made a movie for $7,000. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take that exact same amount of money, and I'm going to make a movie for $7,000. Not trying to sell it, not trying to make it be successful. I just want the experience and the challenge, because he did it for 7, I'm going to do it for 7. I'm a Spanish filmmaker, he's a Spanish filmmaker, let's do it, right? Mm-hmm. So we went out and did this movie with no expectation. It's small, shitty cameras, it's a mockumentary action film, like a fake documentary about a guy who wanted to make a documentary about what it would be like to fight crime in real life. action comedy. Made the movie, ended up selling it to the Middle East, to Africa, to Amazon Prime, to Tubi. We won Best Action Sequence at HBO's Urban Action Showcase Film Festival in New York. We, got it distributed all over the place. Did not expect, and got nominated for Best Picture at the same nominated for Best Picture and nominated for Best Action Sequence, one action sequence, and was able to sell it and distribute it for something that was essentially an exercise. So it's low budget, but if you like El Mariachi, check out Street Shadows. You can see my face in it. Or if you want to see my face for 2 seconds, go watch episode 4 of Stranger Things. Don't blink or you might miss it.
Hey, is that movie on Street Shadows? Is it on Max at all?
No, I wish. No, it's on Tubi and Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Tubi for free with ads, but Tubi gets a bad rap. And then Amazon Prime, you can rent it for like $5.
Listen, I know a lot of people who love Tubi.
Oh, yeah. Me too. As a matter of fact, we did a collector's, if you go to 80video.com, you could actually buy a collector's VHS tape of Street Shadows, which I thought was interesting because we shot it digitally for the digital medium, but for the anniversary, we thought it'd be funny to put out a VHS of it because, who the hell would do that? It's expensive, though. For $30, you get a VHS tape of a low-budget film no one's ever seen.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you been in any of the big budget blockbusters, any of the summer epics, any of the superhero movies or Star Wars movies?
I haven't officially, but I've helped develop stuff for them. I worked on some of the previs for Venom. Mm-hmm. Some of the fight choreography stuff, they made it in there. Uncredited. That's the way it works for previs. Also, for a lot of the John Wick guys, 8711, they would fly me in and I taught them a lot of lucha libre moves. Mm-hmm. So anytime you see lucha libre moves or whatever, 9 times out of 10, it's some of the stuff that I got in there and showed them how to do. Specifically there's a movie by Dwayne Johnson, I think, called The Tower. The big building movie where...
Yeah.
Specifically, I worked on that one, but I taught them a bunch of lucha libre moves and made it into some of their movies here and there. Let's see, what else aside from Venom and that one? Usually it's always previs stuff. I haven't been on set credited on a major blockbuster film yet. It's always been either TV or I come in for previs, come up with ideas, and then they run off and go do stuff, which is fun.
What's previs? Is that pre-production,
Previs is pre-visualization. So you got to choreograph everything before you get to a movie. So you will spend weeks choreographing a fight scene, shooting it, showing the director all the camera angles, cutting together the fight like an animatic. So that when a director's about to do the fight, they can see all the choreography and see the camera angles where the punches sell. So we show the pre-visualization to the production team, and they have to take that, shoot it in, and turn it into a real scene. If you go on YouTube and put previs, you'll see a bunch of famous fight scenes done with like cardboard boxes and dudes in t-shirts.
So it's basically like, I mean, it's monetizing copyright infringement, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. You gotta shoot a test because these fight scenes are so intricate and choreographed and dangerous. You gotta do a bunch of test footage, and then off the test footage, you go and shoot the real thing.
Now, are you like someone, or when I say you, I mean anyone who does the previs, is that like your budget? Are you like a realtor? You're putting money into it and you hope that somebody buys your finished previs and uses it? Or how does that work? Or do they pay you to do it?
Normally they hire you. Normally production, the stunt coordinator and stuff will hire you to come in. They have a budget from the studio and they pay you to come in and do a previs. Or you're just trying to get on the movie and the coordinator's trying to show that he's good to do the job, and they'll bring in his guys. And everyone just kind of does it for free, shows the director, and then, okay, you have the job, and then they'll hire the coordinator, and the coordinator brings in their guys to work on it. But 9 times out of 10, it's the studio gives the stunt department money to go shoot a previs and show the studio what the test footage looks like.
Earlier, you were saying basically you have to adapt to technology or die. And when you said that, I was thinking that, video games have really changed. I don't play video games anymore, so I'm sort of lost, but I've seen it. And, you see like Dave Bautista's face, Bruce Willis's face, Ronda Rousey, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You see famous people's faces and voices loaning themselves to the video games. I'm sure in all the Marvel movies you have Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, whatnot. But they also have very realistic moves, and there's sports games too, of course. And do people in your side of the stunt, the action coordinator part of it, do you play a role in, because that's something you can adapt to when video games become movies, and some of them just go on and on and on with different permutations. That's maybe something you can adapt into or die. So A, am I right? And B, have you done any of that?
Yeah, you're exactly correct. I've done a bunch of motion capture for video games. There was a couple of like sword fighting games that I did. I couldn't tell you the name of it because I'm not a gamer either. I just get hired and we don't see any of the game. Obviously, they put us in a motion capture suit. We choreograph fights and they take the data and make a game out of it. But I did a bunch of the pro wrestling games as well for WWE, doing the motion capture of all their characters. Hey, today you're Andre the Giant. And I'm my little 5'6" athlete, like pretend to be Andre because I can do I can mimic the movement of anybody really, but of specifically any wrestler. But yeah, you're exactly correct. You work in video games and all that stuff translates. But again, the more technology comes in, what's going to happen is, in my opinion, is a lot of the lower level stunt guys, the guys that don't really have the creative mindset, they're just like a tool. Those guys are going to lose work. And then the guys that kind of use their brains are going to have more work.
This is just I was thinking that when you were saying that, it sounds like the old horror movie Mimic. And I was thinking, hey, that'd be a fun wrestling gimmick if somebody was the Mimic. And every time whoever they were wrestling, they did exactly the same thing. And it's like someone was wrestling themselves and they could, they were trying to figure out how to beat themselves. So yeah. I wonder if that would work. But it might have a limited lifespan, but like in the old territories days, they could move around or whatever. But I don't know. Sounds like a fun little, at least an indie little thing to. So Damien Sandow played with that with The Miz a little bit. But here I go again, getting into the pit of wrestling, and this is not the wrestling focused show. I have lost myself in my little creativity. What should I have asked you about that I didn't?
Man, I guess I am in the WGA, so any of the writing stuff for anybody out there that wants to be a writer.
Yeah, let's do that. Exactly. How do you do that? Like people, I in law, I do real life in law, and people say to me, how do you get your stuff out there? And I'm like, well, you can ask someone to sign an NDA, or you can go through a literary agent, and you have to vet them and trust them. But frankly, you're not, the studios are getting so much unsolicited things. They're not signing an NDA for you. You have, at some point, you just have to, if you can go through an agent or put yourself out there and know that, you might get copied upon. Is that, but I'm not really a show business lawyer per se. Is that what you have to sort of do, or is there a smarter way to do it?
There's smarter ways to do it. Like you don't have to be in the WGA to get your script registered with the WGA registry to protect you from copyright infringement. Okay. So you pay them $30 or whatever, and you submit your piece, and they will give you a registry number, and now your work's protected. And guys will also registered with the Library of Commerce, which is actually more protection. So you registered with the WGA, you registered for the Library of Commerce. Now you're protected. And then what you do is you start submitting to film festivals. There's festivals that are just for scripts. And once you start winning these awards, you'll start getting attention. You win one of the big ones, you'll get an agent like that, you're off to the races. I mean, once a year, the Blacklist, which is a screenplay writing platform, they have all the top writers and producers in Hollywood. They make a list of the top scripts that haven't been produced yet. And usually several of those will get made into a movie because they're like, these are the best scripts that haven't been made yet. And these are like first-time writers. You know, the writer of Juno, Diablo Cody, was a stripper. That was her first script, won an Oscar for her very first screenplay. You know, so you have to learn how to write. The problem with writing is that everybody thinks they're a writer. Everybody and their grandmother has a script. The guy working at the gas station has got a screenplay. Everybody thinks they can write. Nobody wants to learn and get good at writing. Get good at screenplay structure. Read some books. Read Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey. Read Save the Cat. Practice. Get in your 10,000 hours. After you write a script, don't just think this is awesome. Hire a guy. It's called coverage. You hire a guy to review, and they'll tell you, hey, this sucks. Fix this, this, and this. Then go fix those things. Don't have a fucking ego. Don't think that you're the best writer in the world. There's guys that think they're a good writer, and they've never written anything. They've never sold anything. And then I'm gonna write this script, and I'm gonna pitch it. My friend's a big actor, so I'm gonna write this script, and I'm gonna pitch it to them. Okay, what have you written before? Nothing. Have you been to a film festival before? No. Have you won any awards? No. Then what are you doing? What? Can you imagine if it's like, oh, I've never juggled chainsaws before. I'm just going to do this because I feel as though I'm good at it. Like, it's stupid. Only in writing can you pretend to do something. And, like, it's embarrassing to say you're a writer. So my advice would be get good at the craft. Hire an external person to review your stuff. Once you start getting good reviews, register it and compete in film festivals. And if it's good, cream will rise to the crop. If not, you do your 10,000 hours, you will be a master by the end of the 10,000 hours. Don't just think you're good at something if you've never done it before. That's asinine.
Right. And if you're reading Joseph Campbell just to learn how to write, don't get sucked into everything else because it can blow your mind. It's a great Hero with 1,000 Names or Hero with 1,000 Faces. I forget what the exact title is called, but it's
1,000 Faces. Don't get too crazy.
Yeah, just read the book and move on. Maybe read some Carl Jung also. It's sort of the same thing. Yeah. How is it that so many great books are absolutely mistranslated when it comes to being on the screen? Is that the screenplay writer's fault? Is it the director's fault? Is it studio's fault? I mean, I'm sure that there's probably different columns for each individual case, but I'm thinking of The Redbreast, which was a really good, sort of a simple but complex tale at the same time. Terrible movie, great book. And Salem's Lot, one of Stephen King's greatest books. They keep trying to make the movie, and they just can't make it scary. They can't make it good. Like, what's the problem?
There's a lot. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of different variables, a lot of different factors. I think studios in general have forgotten how to make movies, even ones that don't come with a book. Yeah, they fuck it up. Because a lot of guys that get picked to make movies or picked to produce movies, unfortunately, don't know. They just don't know what they're doing. There's a big talent issue where people are getting into positions where they don't know what they're doing. But I would say the biggest issue is runtime. One page of a screenplay is 1 minute of screen time. So 80-page script is 80 minutes. Now, if you got like Lord of the Rings or something, you have like 1,000-page book. Trimming. So the main problem I see it as is the length of a book cannot be fit into an hour and a half, 2-hour movie. So that means you have to now adapt it. And in the adaptation, something always gets lost in translation and things always kind of get messed up. And then you add in all those other factors that you mentioned, now it's not going to be good. Same thing with a video game. You're going to do a 70-hour, 150-hour video game into a 2-hour movie. That's going to be really difficult. It's not impossible. Godfather worked, The Lord of the Rings, worked the first ones. Yeah. There's a right and wrong way to do it, but incredibly difficult to cut that down and lose. You have to lose 60, 70, 80% depending on how big a book is to turn it into a movie. So right off the bat, you're fighting against the clock on that. The run times are just going to kill you into making it good.
It's almost like you have to be already an excellent film director, and then you have to find books that you like that you could condense into the 90 or 120 minutes.
Right, or do a series or something, you know what I mean? Like Fallout is working as a series because it's just how you stick that into one movie, you know? But you can stick it into 20-something episodes, you know?
Yeah, well, not everyone's Peter Jackson says, I want to do 3 movies for Lord of the Rings. And they say, I mean, Lord of the Rings, probably they'd agree to 3 movies, but you have to also be Peter Jackson back then. I mean, you know, back then Michael Bay could probably get whatever he wanted. Now I'm not so sure. I mean...
Yeah. I mean, for Lord of the Rings was interesting because the first studio they approached, I forgot who it was, they said no, it's got to be 2 movies or 1 movie or something like that, and they couldn't do it. Peter Jackson could have wrapped his head around doing Lord of the Rings in 1 or 2 movies,
yeah.
And then I think they went to Miramax or whatever, and they were worried, and they handed them a 2-movie version, and Miramax was like, you know what, this is better if it was just 3 movies, and he's like, oh shit, okay, and they expanded it back to the 3. So some studios know, some don't. You need the best possible team of filmmakers. And you need a specific type of writer that can adapt something really long into, cinema size.
Yeah,
hard to do.
There's a lot of accidental good luck and maybe a lot of accidental bad luck also. It's not always the material, because I've read lots of books who are bad movies and, things that were sort of average that were pretty good movies. There's a lot of stuff out there. Is it really still like the movie business is still like the gold standard, or is prestige TV catching up, or is it already caught up?
I think it's some from column A and some from column B, because you still have guys like Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan and Spielberg and Scorsese that are doing the prestige, doing quality, unique stuff that you have to go to the theater to watch that you're not going to get on TV. And you still have actors that refuse to do TV, like DiCaprio and things like that, and Pitt. But you have so much more crap that there's by default really great TV out there. So it's starting to balance itself out a bit, where television and streaming does have a lot of quality stuff and is getting some of that prestige. But the big dogs will always be the big dogs, and going into a dark room with a bunch of strangers and having the same experience will always win out on top, I think, if it's a quality piece.
Can we go back to the Pluto TV thing for a sec? I was trying to, like, do you contact them? Like, how do you get an audience with someone at Pluto and TV and say, hey, I've got this idea, or hey, I have this product that I've already built. I've already gone and I built this. I have 1,000 hours worth of programming for you, and deals with, 16 different promotions who are going to provide you with, or 60 different promotions who are going to provide you content, new content all year round, between all of these different promotions. Basically you run a 24/7, and none of them want a ton of money, but they all want to be paid reasonably. And so how do you get someone to pitch that idea to? How do you get someone to pick up the phone or answer your email or whatever the case might be?
Well, I mean, me and Corey DeMeyers, my business partner, we are even running we have our own wrestling promotion called Road Wrestling. Huh? We just did 5 episodes, and we ran in Los Angeles. And one of the people that helped us with that production, just to run our step and repeat and our switching from cameras, worked at Pluto TV. And he was saying how the other wrestling channels on there do good money, do good business. So we're like, hey, if we bring you some independent, we had the idea, if we bring you some independent wrestling, would Pluto be interested? And they said, yeah, if it was enough hours. So with that in my back pocket, you just try. I mean, a lot of promotions turned us down. It's not like we pick up the phone and everybody said yes. I mean, famously, House of Hardcore in New York said no, and then they realized everybody else was making money, and they tried to say yes, but it was already towards the end, and Pluto wasn't renewing us. So a lot of people missed out on making a good chunk of money because they had said no, because there was no money up front.
Right.
There was a profit split. Like, we're going to give you this percentage, and whatever we make, we share in the benefits and share in the losses. And a lot of people said yes. A lot of people said no. Ultimately, we were able to get 500 hours plus. But there were a lot of people that said no. You just got to try, man. People don't want to try. I had somebody tell me, hey, damn, Jett, you always get a lot of projects done. How was you able to get these projects done? And I had to tell them, look, man, you don't see the projects that I didn't get done. You don't see the ones that were failed, that I couldn't edit, that I couldn't get funding for, that I threw the script away in the trash, that everybody said no, that didn't win any awards. You're not seeing any of those. You're only seeing the ones that worked. I'm not this great, talented guy. I'm just going to throw 30 things at the wall. Right. 10 will go through. 5 will get made. 2 will win awards. You're only seeing the 2 that win awards.
Yeah, but you don't quit. That's the thing. You keep doing.
Exactly.
Where do they figure the profits from? Is it from the ads? Is it from
ad revenue? Yeah, 100% ad revenue. Yeah, Pluto works 100% like regular. They have a streaming platform attached to their platform. They're free. Pluto TV is amazing. There's 24/7 channels on everything that you're interested in. 24/7 James Bond movies, 24/7 boxing. But it's ad based revenue, which is, I think, more profitable than streaming based revenue. Like the residuals checks I get for this, kind of shocking when I tell people like Stranger Things, one of the most popular shows on Netflix. I'm getting really crappy residual checks from them. If I would have done a toothpaste commercial, I would get 10 times the amount of money in residuals than doing a big hit film, because those streaming money isn't as good as ad-based revenue. So ad-based revenue is still king with money.
Interesting. I'm just trying to wrap my head around why independent promotions wouldn't want to do that, because what do they have to lose? I mean, the independent promotion, usually your target audience is one municipality, one city,
Unfortunately with pro wrestling, there's a lot of like carny, toothless circus people running these promotions that are kind of just, wrestling has always had one foot in mainstream media and the other foot in circus, sideshow, lunatic guys.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of these promoters that own these promotions that are kind of just dumber than a bag of rocks, could barely count, missing teeth, just have a cool indie show, and they're never going to come out of that. They're only going to have a cool little indie show because they don't have the brain for mainstream media. This is how Vince was able to take over so easily, how WWF at the time was able to take over so easily, because you have these like sideshow circus guys that don't have mainstream Hollywood knowledge. Other guys, like let's say Defy Pro Wrestling, they're very Hollywood savvy. They're very show business savvy. They have good producers on that show. They knew exactly what we were talking about. Said, yes, this is great. Let's make a deal. But like your average podunk indie wrestling show in Poughkeepsie, South Carolina, they don't know what the fuck that I'm talking about. They're like, oh, we don't know what you will, blah, 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 blah.
Well, if you can't count, you don't know you're missing any teeth, right? I mean,
exactly. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. People often ask me, you're a smart guy. You went to college. You went to law school. You have a career. How come you still watch professional wrestling? And aside from the fact that I just like it, it's like it is the biggest small business in the world. It's like it's got its feet, in the upper, tiers of everything. Movie stars and all that. But at its heart, it's still a family sort of podunk business, and however big it gets, it can't escape its roots, and I'm not really even sure that it really wants to. But that about wrestling, so that's actually really a fascinating story. I imagine if like more of these places signed up with you in the first place, Pluto would have had more variety, and it probably would have been easier to renew because you have so much more original content, and it's always coming in. All right. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think they looked at some of our numbers. I think what they did was, because it is a hassle managing all the footage from all these different companies. They looked at everything we had and saw at the time the highest grossing were the female matches. Mm-hmm. That made the most money for them, oddly enough. I mean, not oddly enough, they're great. And then they went and bought WoW and then let our contract go out. So they just figured easier for them to just, they like that the most. We'll just make a company of just that and then put that on Pluto. And, they did their market. They used us as market research almost, I would say. But then we're so close to getting Noah on there. But it's all good. We had a good time. They're good people, and we made decent money, and a lot of the indies got paid.
Well, that bridge not burnt down. It may reopen again, and and there might be room for two. And WoW may not be around forever. I hear whispers in the wind. So Jenny Buss has other things that she can and might want to be doing at some point in time. Anyway, I guess enough about that. Who are some of the bigger stars that you've sort of stunt doubled for?
Man, not so much doubled, but worked alongside. I mean, I just worked with Bradley Cooper on something I don't want to talk too much about because I think his presence is a secret in it.
Yeah, well, he's a big deal.
Yeah, but Bradley Cooper, watching him work was very inspiring and very impressive. He refused to have a chair. You had your chair with the name on it? Mm-hmm. He didn't want a chair. He sat there on the floor with the rest of the stunt guys. A lot of times when you do coverage on a scene, they film the actor, then they got to flip the camera around and do the other actor. A lot of times, if it's a star, the star will go to his trailer or hang out, and you just put like a tennis ball or something, a piece of tape, And on this side, you just look at the piece of tape for eye line, and you do your scene to a piece of tape so that the other big name actor could do a break. Because he's a star, you got to take care of the star. So we do our scenes with Bradley Cooper. They naturally set up a little C-stand with a tennis ball to do our coverage. And Bradley's like, what are you doing? What's that? I was, it's eye line. He said, no. I'm going to do it. Get that out of there. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to do it with them. So you sure you're Bradley Cooper? No, let's move it. And he sat there and he did all the coverage. He stood behind the camera and did the eye line with us as if the camera was on him every single fucking take. It was 100-something degree weather and period clothing. Again, I don't want to give away too much. And he worked his ass off. I mean, there were camera guys pulling heavy equipment up a hill. He ran over there and helped him. He's an Oscar winner. He could be in his trailer and air conditioning, not doing shit. But no, he's there pulling equipment with everybody. He's there doing the coverage on both sides. He's not worried about getting a fancy chair. He's not complaining about anything. That to me was very, very impressive. I've got to in the Producers Guild as well. You go to events where you talk. You have conversations with different actors. I'll be able to have a conversation with Matthew McConaughey and talk to Edward Norton because he did a picture called Motherless of Brooklyn, a noir film that he directed and produced and acted in. And we sat and talked with him at length. And with Edward Norton, I found it was very knowledgeable. I was impressed with his knowledge of old Hollywood and martial arts. He's an Aikido practitioner. So Edward Norton is another one of those guys that impressed me. And Bradley Cooper was very, very impressive as well.
So the best in everything usually surprise you with their depth of knowledge, and everyone knows the stories about Keanu Reeves. He just rides the subway and he's nice to everyone, things like that. And that the cream does rise to the top. There aren't that many lucky stars who stay stars for that long.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's guys that are fantastic. Walter Goggins is great. I just choreographed a bunch of fight scenes for John Goodman. And John Goodman was an absolute hero. He's an older gentleman, still down to shoot all night, work all night, get physical. Big fan of AWA wrestling, by the way. Rooker Howard, I think his name is. He played in Guardians of the Galaxy, The Whistling.
Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker, yeah. Michael Rooker and John Goodman are both big Vern Gagne AWA guys.
Really?
So getting to talk with them about stuff, and you'll see some stuff come out next year where I got Goodman maybe throwing a hip toss and doing the old ear slap. I got some cool 80s wrestling in there for him.
I wonder if they're like me and they stuck with it till the end when it was Vern shamelessly plugging his son, and we had that Baron von Raschke and Crusher Jerry Blackwell as the top faces. That was some tough times to be a AWA fan, I tell you.
But those guys loved it. And they were great. John Goodman's fantastic to work with.
That's awesome. So we're talking about John Goodman from Roseanne, John Goodman, and Cloverfield. Yes. Okay. Yep. The Big Lebowski. That's John Goodman. Oh, yeah. All right. This next question. If you don't want to talk about it and you want to say no comment, that's entirely okay. But what went wrong on Rust?
No, I can talk about that. I actually had to give a safety talk to the PGA about gun safety on sets. In my opinion, and I'm going to be harsh here, the armorer, some girl who's the daughter of a famous armorer, is just inexperienced. And she only got the job because I think it checks a box. She pissed off another famous actor on her previous set where she shot a blank near his ear and the noise, messed with his ear. Right. And she got yelled at. She has no business being on a major motion picture. She's greener than duck shit. And it's her fault. Now, yes, there were other problems. There was a low budget movie, a bunch of, they were working them really hard. The studio was working them really hard. A lot of people quit. There were some conditions unsafe conditions, yada, yada, yada. That's fine and dandy. But ultimately, there's 5 or 6 safeguards that happen before anyone pulls a trigger on a set. And those were all ignored because of specifically the armorer. They weren't even shooting. They were rehearsing. So all those safeguards were ignored. I placed 100% of the blame on the armorer who was in charge of the armor, of the guns. Yeah, a lot of other people fucked up.
Well, Alec Baldwin's the big name.
I don't think it was Baldwin. Baldwin's an actor. He's not a trained gunman. He doesn't know anything. Those single action cowboy movies, you pull the hammer back, it'll shoot forward on its own. You ever seen guys flap the hammer without pulling the trigger? That single action, you pull a trigger, but you can pull the hammer back and not pull the trigger, and it'll fly back on its own and shoot the gun. You don't even have to pull the trigger on a single action Colt Peacemaker. So, like, he's an actor. I don't blame him. I mean, they're his company, but I don't blame him whatsoever. I 100% blame a greener than duck shit armorer that shouldn't be anywhere within 20 feet of a real set.
Interesting. So he could still be civilly liable for being in charge of the production, but not criminally liable because it's a higher standard. Interesting.
Yeah, and he thought he was handed a clean gun that had nothing, that wasn't going to fire or nothing, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I'm wondering what the prosecutor, if they just want to be famous or if they really know things. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to watch. I appreciate you for sort of being so earnest on that, though, because it's sort of controversial, but it's something everybody knows. All right. Well, we've gone now about an hour and 10 minutes. I think that's probably enough to wrap up this section. If you've anything coming out that you want to promote, if you want to be found and followed, how do people find and follow you?
Check me out on Instagram. Jett Jansen is the username on Instagram. Be on the lookout for my short film, Blue Evening. And make sure you watch the next season of Righteous Gemstones.
Excellent. All right. Well, those are the three things. And so you can hear from Jett Jansen. Thank you so much for giving us your time and your expertise and being willing to talk about everything out there under the sun. And best of luck with the movie. Say hello to Cross for me. I'm sure he is asking about me as well. All right, folks, the next thing you're going to hear is going to be the theme song from the original Fall Guys show, because I can't resist. And actually, the movie's okay. It's a little bit long, but it's okay. It's on Peacock. You can watch it at home. All right, Jett Jansen, thank you very much. And audience, thank you for listening to Garden Views.
Thank you very much.
But I've been seen with Farrah. I've never been with anything less than a 9. So fine. I've been on fire with Sally Field, gone fast with a girl named Bo. But somehow they just don't end up as mine. It's a death-defying life I lead. I take my chances. I die for living in the movies and TV. But the hardest thing I ever do is watch my leading ladies kiss some other guy while I'm bandaging my knee. I might fall from a tall building, I might roll a brand new car, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that made Redford such a star. I've never spent much time in school, but I taught ladies plenty. It's true, I hire my body out for pay. Hey, hey, I've gotten burned over Cheryl Teague's blown up